Richard trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease.
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Street Bullies podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, brother?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I'm John. What's going on, everybody?
And we are joined by Matt Casey.
Hello. I was just wondering if Derek really went to Harvard or if that's just a hat.
Some guy beat up.
I'll leave that up for interpretation.
Oh,
Wait, isn't that the one that you found like in the gutter in
ding,
North Carolina?
yeah.
Not the gutter. It was a parking lot, and I washed it twice before I put it on my head.
Parking lot on a dead guy.
It's down in
would throw
Outer
out something
Banks.
like this,
Right? Like whoever has it, man. He's like, how am I going to let everyone know I went to Harvard now? Poor guy.
How am I going to let them know that I went to school outside of Boston?
I have to settle for this shitty Dartmouth hat. Christ.
Stop it! No.
I didn't go to Dartmouth. But no, you got trade speculation running.
Wait,
rampant
hold on.
right now.
You didn't say hello to Hoagie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What's up, Hoagie?
Mondays, Hoagie.
That's right.
That's crickets.
Oh yeah.
I don't like to rag on the guy when he's not here. I like Hoagie.
I do.
No, us too. Yeah.
I left that up to you guys. No, I told you guys we met up for lunch last weekend, right?
Right.
Yeah. We met
Wait,
up
you
for
and
lunch.
Hoagie did?
Yeah, he was in town. He's like, let's grab lunch. So I brought the kid. Wife wasn't feeling very well, so she ditched out on us.
That's what I would say if we had lunch for Hoagie too.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I was telling him, like, buddy, I'm like, you want to go see Hoagie? He goes, no.
He knows.
I'm like you and John would get along real well.
Wait, is this the first time you've met Hoagie in real life?
This is the first time I've met Hoagie in real life.
Wow. Is he taller than you think? Or like
I didn't even take notice to it, honestly. I was more focused on like the kid
He
not
does
running
have
around the restaurant.
Kind of that unnoticeable feel to him, you know?
so mean?
I'm done with this.
So mean.
Oh.
There's a ton to talk about. Let's be honest. When it comes to trade speculation, what the rumors are, what the Flyers are looking to do, not the big thing, but one of the big things, we'll say.
Isaac Ratcliffe.
Yes, Isaac Ratcliffe is now gone, and in his place we have, for a second time,
So I have a theory.
future considerations.
I have a theory of what future considerations are. Chuck's like, next time Garth Brooks goes to Bridgestone Arena, baby, hook me up. He gets like,
it's probably even worse than that. It's like, hey, I heard Depeche Mode's going on a reunion tour, and the guy's like, yeah, dude, like those are like $20 tickets. You could get no. That's my future considerations right
Invite
there.
me to the box. So, yes, future considerations for Isaac Ratcliffe. Biggest part of that deal, in my opinion, is that they opened up a roster spot,
Right.
which God knows what they're going to do with it. I mean, and you guys have any ideas what they? Yeah, like who cares at this point?
I mean, my biggest worry is who I think is going to be in the return for a JVR trade, but I don't know if we want to get into that right away.
That might be best served as the last topic, so that we can take some real time on that.
Look,
If you guys are okay with it.
they're clearly doing. He's a cooking something up there. You know, there's something going on. I think we're all just like we're so ready to be underwhelmed, but like if anybody can underwhelm us even more, it's probably Chuck. And I'll go on record by saying I've never been in the like you should fire Chuck Fletcher mode, but like I think I'm there. I think I'm there. And it's like unless he pulls something decent this week, like I don't know how you keep the guy on.
He's cooking like the guy from Ratatouille without the rat right now. Like that's as simple as that. And the rat is Danny Briere. Put him in the spot. Let him pull the strings. I'd like to see some deals with him. But I think I'm just tired of the Chuck Fletcher deals because it's just consistently underwhelming at this point.
I mean, they're just safe. The guy does not take a single risk whatsoever. You know,
I don't know. He did trade for Ryan Ellis. I feel like that was a pretty big risk with all things considered.
well, I mean, I guess it depends on what they know. I mean,
No.
knew at the time, right?
But
Like,
John, to your
know.
point, it's not that he's not doing risks. It's just none of his risks are paying off. Like that's
Sure.
the issue.
yeah. But I mean, see, what if
Even
like,
the
what was his
Atkinson Voracek
big
deal
swing?
didn't pay off for anybody at this point. Like,
Right. It's just like
Voracek's out.
It's just like moving contracts for the sake of like moving contracts. It's like I'm going to trade this guy for this guy, but with like no consequence. You know, it's like we're still just in neutral land.
You called it, what, a year or two ago? We're reshuffling the furniture on the deck of the Titanic at this point.
Yeah,
Right.
we're the string quartet playing.
It's going down no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter what it looks like.
I mean, Casey, like you've been around pretty much since this team's inception, and like, is this the most irrelevant version of the Flyers that you've ever experienced? Like, I mean, I know they've
in
been
recent
bad,
memory.
but
I would say in recent memory, yeah, like that 06-07 team was just horrific, but they made power moves very quickly to get back into contention. That was a 1 year like hiccup. I would say that leading into the Lindros years, and that's when I was like a young kid. Like Lindros came in 91, I want to say. I remember the Flyers just being mediocre for like several years, but I'm sure they were still more competitive than what we've seen the last couple of years. So like in my adult life, so let's call it like from 2000 until current day, like this is about as bad. And the thing is, it's been bad for multiple years, which is not, and there's no clear direction out of it either, which I think is what everybody is pissed off about.
The thing that frustrates me the most is that we've seen the glimpses this year of a competitive team, not a good team, but a competitive team. But over the past, what has it been, 5-6 games now? We've seen the team just lay down and
touchdown Devils,
right? I had to hear it from two separate friends that are Devils fans. Like, how's that game last night?
I live in New Jersey. It's the worst. It's my wife doesn't know a single player, but she's like, "How about those Devils?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Like, you're
how do you talk shit after a 7-0 loss? You know.
You yell up to people
like you beat a team you should have beat. Congrats.
They looked all right in the first period. Who cares?
Well, there's 3 periods in a game, so you know, the third ain't bad.
Thanks, Bill.
Right, but I mean, there's just we could go on and on about the state of the team. I feel like we've done that for the past how many weeks at this point, but
4 years.
Kind of building on the state of the team, you know, you saw reports this week about Joel Farabee and his camp, quote unquote, that is voiced their displeasure to the Flyers on as to how the season has unfolded under John Tortorella, which, if you guys don't mind, in terms of their displeasure as to how this season has unfolded, how the hell else did you see this season unfolding?
Right.
Like, we're going to be contenders. Like, you're not fooling
I think it's
anybody.
more from an individual standpoint.
It's the cert. And, you know, I'm not going to give the guy a complete pass, but, like, that's pretty serious surgery. Like, I'm not saying he should be a world beater right now. Like, but come on. Like, you expect a little bit of catch up here.
Yeah, but I think the confusing thing is, it's like, it is the surgery. I don't think you've I don't think you've seen Farabee say it outright, but I think everybody can understandably say, like, all right, man, this guy hit a wall. Like, he was, it's tough. It's, we saw it with Giroux, 4 years ago or so, when he had surgery and like couldn't train in the offseason. Now, I don't get the comments, because what's gone really wrong is Farabee has played like crap. It's not like it's like Konechny's agent saying, hey, we don't like how this team has performed, which is like probably a legit concern on his end, because he's having a career year up until he got his back busted. By the way, I did hear a rumor that it's not as bad as we originally thought.
Good.
I heard from a source. And so I think if Farabee and his camp should be pissed at anyone, it's at themselves. It's like his guys, Farabee's not delivering. And we understand why, but you can't blame it on the team. It certainly would be easier on him if he was just a third line player on a machine of a team, but he's not.
Right.
I like the stance that Tortorella took though when he responded to it.
Shut
Jordan
up.
Hall tweeted it out. It's just like, this is news to me. Is his agent popping off that he's pissed off? He should shut up. Like, that's awesome. And like, but the fact too that he goes on to kind of clarify, saying, you know, by any stretch, I have not given up on Joel Farabee. I feel like that's just obvious at this point.
Right.
I mean, and John Tortorella, I mean, it clearly has a track record where if you're not going to meet his expectations, you're going to sit.
Mhm.
Right.
You know,
And
it's
Farabee's
not
been
just
sitting, by the way.
Yeah,
He
he
hasn't
sent
been-
Hayden Hodgson right back down to the AHL.
Farabee's sat. He hasn't been. He's
Scratch.
dressed. He's sat though.
Yeah.
right.
And
Right.
rightfully so. If you're playing like dog shit, you sit. That's
Right.
that. You know,
I mean, I feel like Saravalli putting him on that trade list was like a little. I mean, it was just to muster up some, you know, views and things, because it would just be idiotic for the Flyers to trade Joel Farabee right now. I mean,
who's he
he's-
with? TSN? He's not with TSN.
No,
is he?
it's the Daily Face.
Daily. Yeah, Daily Face Off. The heads probably reached out and they're like, "Listen, buddy, drum up some content
I
here."
think
Some
he
clicks.
is the head.
Oh well, there it goes, straight from the source. You know,
I mean, the other thing is like the Flyers do not have a short list of guys who have raised their hand saying they want out, and at least to our knowledge, Farabee isn't one of those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no shortage of work that Chuck has in front of him, and he's sitting there going, shaking his magic 8 ball. It's like, well, will this trade work out? Outlook does not look good. All right, let me try that again.
I'll tell you what, he's got one move that he absolutely cannot botch, and to me, that's the JVR trade here. I mean, we're talking an expiring deal that you could. I know. We ultimately know that he's going to botch it. But the thing is, too, with the way the chips have fallen and with the returns that some of these guys are getting, good God, how do you not capitalize on that? Tanner Janot, what did he get? 5 draft picks?
He got
And
a
prospects?
prospect, a first, a second, and a fourth and a fifth. I mean, not all in the same
picks.
draft, but
Yeah,
he's like a
the-
third liner.
First is in
I've
like
never even heard of this
2025.
guy.
The
I'm not gonna
second's
lie,
in
I've never heard of him.
2024. I don't understand. Like, everybody has a hard on for this guy, which, like, okay, he's big, he's physical, he's tough. Like, awesome. You know, so was Wayne Simmons, but that's not the
But-
return Wayne Simmons got.
But listen, here's the thing, though. We've lived in the, you know, the draft picks are sacred world. Look
Mm-hmm.
how that turned out. Tampa Bay, when they want something, they go out and get it. They worry about the return way further down the road. They're thinking about bringing home another cup. Like, that's
As
what
they
I want
should.
the Flyers to do at this point. I'm so sick and tired of, like, oh, we got to hold on to this third round pick, la-di-da. Like, I want to start swinging for the fences. I don't know.
We can't, though, right now. Like, that's the obstacle that is presented to us at this point.
But
There's
I
no
do think
quick
he could at
fix.
least, yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, aggressive moves. Like,
Well, sure.
you can't tell me he can't be more aggressive when teams that suck just as much as them.
But the
You
cap,
know-
John, the salary cap.
I think what you're translating to, John, is hey, yeah, we're going back to like the Hextall era of stockpiling picks, or at least that's what like some people want to do as a real rebuild. Instead of being like, hey, let's not deal our first in 23, but you know what? Let's package that third, that fourth with
Right.
something else and turn it into trade equity versus like player for player trade.
You hit the nail on the head.
right.
Trade equity. You can trade. I don't care. I shouldn't say I don't care. I think that you try to get the most. If that's going to mean like 3 third-round picks or 3 fourth-round picks, whatever, you get what you can and then use those. Flip them for an aggressive move that you could go out and get somebody that will impact this team right now.
Right.
I mean, but the thing is like, you look at, you know, this rumored JVR trade, right? Where it's like to Minnesota for Jordan Greenway and whatever.
The
Be it
first,
a-
I think they said.
A first?
I think they're saying a first because you're still taking on an extra
23 first?
year. You're taking on an extra year of Greenway at that point on top of what JVR's is. So he'd be with you next year as well.
All right. I mean, if we could get a first round pick, cool. That's awesome. But I mean, like, to me, it's just another one of those deals where it's like, it reminds me of the Simmons trade where you're just getting this crap back. I don't know. It's just so dull.
Well, what about, so we saw Minnesota basically broker the deal for, who was it? Was it Meyer or no? It was somebody else. who'd they broker the deal? It was not Barbashev. Christ, whatever. It doesn't
I don't
matter.
know.
They
No,
brokered a deal for
it was,
someone where they retained.
Wasn't it the guy who went to the Islanders?
Horvat?
Wasn't it Horvat?
I don't think so. This was
I
more
don't think
recent.
so.
This was like
Ryan
late last week.
O'Reilly?
Might have been O'Reilly. It might have been O'Reilly. I can't remember. But they're brokering deals where they're retaining 25%, and then the Blues or whoever it is are retaining a certain percentage. And in that way, basically, whoever's getting them is paying a fraction of the salary. So, I mean, Chuck, this is his opportunity to get creative. Like, if he doesn't want to retain 50%, find a team and say, hey, I'll give you a 4th round pick if you retain 25%, and we'll retain the other 25. You know, or I'll give you a 1/3 if you want to retain the entire thing.
So hold on. I'm looking at Cap Friendly here at this dude's contract, and he's in the first year of a 3-year contract at $3 million. So
yeah, so he's got 2 more years.
He's got 2 more years. 24-25 is a modified
He's a
no
bottom
trade.
sixer. Like we just
modified no trade.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
And listen, Chuck Fletcher and what's his name, Brett Flair, drafted him in Minnesota. Like,
do you think do you think Minnesota's the only one that like picks up? They're like, oh, these guys again.
I mean, think about it. It's like if this deal was with anybody else but Minnesota, I don't think I'd be as fuming about it. But the idea of like, okay, he's just going back to what he knows.
Right.
He's got to have better options, though. And whether he realizes that or not shouldn't be up for debate because he should know. But there's got to be better options out there than aside from eating 2 more years at $3 million for Greenway. You're essentially still retaining half of JVR's salary at that point. So you only get half the flexibility as opposed to, you know, taking on another expiring contract and, you know, taking a pick from him or whatever for it.
I mean, with what Elliot Friedman was saying, how the Flyers were in on Dennis Gurianov for Dallas, right? He's a reclamation project where it's like he has some serious offensive explosiveness. And like when he gets going, I mean, he looks pretty remarkable, but he's had a hard time putting it all together. But he's an RFA. Like I would have been fine with JVR for Gurianov straight up. It's like you bring this guy in, you see what you can get out of him. And at the end of the day, he's an RFA. He hasn't lived up to the money he's making right now, which is like $2 million. You probably hold on to him for cheaper. Like,
oh, yeah. Right. And if someone tenders him, you get compensation for it.
Right. And at least he provides some upside. Like the guys like Jordan Greenway, like, there's no upside there. We have all those guys.
What is he? Who would you comp him to on our team? McEwen?
Like,
no.
Better than McEwen.
Greenway.
Oh, Greenway. Like a lesser Lawton, honestly. Like he's the problem is in the Flyers high and wide chat, we've been talking about it all day. We have too many of them to begin with. Like we've got Lashinsky's getting healthy again, it looks like. You've got the list goes on. Like there's too many bottom 6 forward options.
I mean, so far
we're swimming in mediocrity.
So I put this on the Street Bullies Twitter account earlier, but Jordan Greenway so far this season has played 43 games. He has 2 goals and 4 assists and is a -4.
Underwhelming.
Farabee straight up for Greenway.
But you know what I mean?
We saved $2 million.
It's truly just grabbing a player to just say, hey, look, we got somebody, you know, in the deal. It's not a 5th round pick.
That's not enough though. Like, and maybe I'm just being greedy here or, you know, thinking too much of the situation, but doesn't excite me. Like
hold on to JVR at that point. If it's that chucklehead for JVR straight up, I don't need that guy.
They're not in a bad situation with it. Like the ultimate end goal is to get rid of his cap by the end of the year. Correct. You're not going to do anything with it.
And if we can get a 2nd or a 3rd with it, great. If we can get a 1st with it,
I mean the cap is gone anyway, though.
Exactly.
The idea is to get something for it. But
I mean, unless there's a plan to use that $7 million between now and the trade deadline, it's nothing. It means nothing to the team until the offseason.
Right. I mean, again, like we said last time, right? It is about like trade equity, but if you're getting a guy like Jordan Greenway, you're not flipping that contract. Nobody else wants him. That's why Minnesota is taking advantage of the putts we have in the front office.
At this point, I can't believe his phone isn't ringing off the hook with other GMs being like, how am I going to fleece this guy this year?
I'll give you Shea Weber's money. for JVR straight up, Chuck.
I said it last week. I still think I haven't seen any reports on it, but I still think there could be something with JVR to Washington because I think those guys need to make a play to make the playoffs.
Except they're starting to trade UFAs that they aren't going to be able to re-sign. Didn't they just trade 2 of those guys to Boston?
Yeah, but there's no way they're giving up right now.
No, I get that, but I just don't know if they're gonna if they're looking at their own guys and going, if we can't re-sign you, we're gonna trade you. I highly doubt that they're then gonna do that with another player, with another pending UFA, where it's like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You know what it was? It was the deal that involved Toronto, I think.
That's what I said.
No, you didn't. You said
Ryan O'Reilly.
You did say
never
Toronto.
mind. You did. I don't know. Did you see Kravtsov went for a 7th round pick and a prospect?
Yeah, and that's another one that they were like, Chuck was kicking the tires on. How bad is this guy? Like, I just want to be a fly on the wall for one freaking deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
I don't get it. But like
Bruins, Dmitry Orlov and Garnett Hathaway. That's what I'm thinking about.
No,
Minnesota took a 3rd round pick, I believe.
So that's from Washington. Those guys were from Washington.
Yeah, so they retained whatever percentage on them. That's what I'm thinking.
But I've been hearing I've been hearing Winnipeg rumors too.
But I think they just grabbed somebody.
They did. Who was it? I was literally just looking at the trade sheet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
they got somebody from Nashville too, I believe. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
It doesn't. But I mean, the options are there. There are definitely teams that will bite on a JVR proposal. It's just a matter of finding the team that really feels like they got slighted. And not to mention, you still have Patrick Kane out there.
Right.
You know?
I'm saying, like, besides Kane, like, JVR is basically the next tier down, which is ironic given their draft position from whatever year that was, 2002, whenever the hell they were drafted.
Right.
Christ.
03 was it? Whatever.
So I don't know. I think once Kane goes, and what if, I keep on hearing stuff about the Rangers and whatever the suspension thing may be. Like, does that screw up their cap?
Oh, that's right.
It does. Suspensions don't affect the cap.
They don't.
No.
But look, do they have enough? Do they have too many contracts at that point?
Well, I think they sent down a guy.
Got it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think they sent down Schneider.
But
I don't know. That would make sense. Sending down a defenseman when a defenseman just got suspended. Like, who are you going to play back there on the blue line?
Well, dude, I don't know. I'm just going off of what I saw.
The polar opposite. We put Braun on the wing. They put defense down left and right.
Smart move.
Hey,
I like
Sam Moran can play wing.
Anybody can.
No, I think realistically, hopefully by Wednesday, we've at least moved JVR, and then it's like, all right, what can we get for Brown? What can we get for Braun? Does Tony D end up, hitting the books as well? I don't know.
Everybody's on the table at this point. John alluded to it with the reclamation projects. The Flyers could take on a reclamation project at this point. Bring them all on. Who cares? Tippett's working out. Like, that was somewhat of a reclamation project.
That was absolutely a reclamation project. Yeah.
His wrister the other night. Jesus. That was pretty. Whew.
I saw no pretty. I saw no pretty.
It was a nice shot. I'll give him that.
The thing that drives me crazy is it's like we're doing it again, where it's like, oh, there's been calls about D'Angelo and there's been calls about Provorov. Oh, and it sounds like the Hurricanes and the Avs might be in on Hayes. And it's reminded me of the offseason when it's like all the moves are being made for Johnny Gaudreau. All the moves are being made for Johnny Gaudreau. And then what's going to happen? Nothing. It's like
Nick Delorier.
Every single person but Chuck Fletcher sees how much all of these things make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then nothing gets done.
There's an episode name.
What was it?
But Chuck Fletcher.
The thing that I keep on going back to in the last couple games here is not to detour from the trade talk too much, but
No detour.
just how much Konechny really is the heartbeat of this team. Like
Yep.
he's the heart. And I would even say, like, and don't like crucify me for this, I would say McEwen has heart and can bring it, but he doesn't have the skill that Konechny has.
Sure.
But I think the two of them collectively, their energy, like they bring energy in there.
Right.
And you've just seen, like,
It's been sucked out of this team.
that Montreal game was pathetic. I mean, that was pathetic, given that they have 85% of the lineup
14
out.
people were out.
Right. That's insane. And they beat the crap out of us.
Right. It wasn't even close.
It's embarrassing. Like this was worst case scenario at the beginning of the season. Seeing a team get walloped by the Montreal Canadiens, by a team like the Montreal Canadiens.
Right.
This is kind of what most people expected. And here we are, because now, you know, the best player that stepped up in the absence of a guy like Couturier and guys like Ellis and, you know, other guys, now he's out. So who's next? Who's stepping up next?
It's definitely not Hayes, that's for sure.
Right. You know, and I think kind of to take another detour here and maybe swing back a little bit with the whole Farabee thing. One thing that I'm a little nervous about is, like, if you're noticing a trend with the players that John Tortorella seems to have a lot of issues with, it's like our players with the most skill potential. You know, it's the players that don't need to, like, they have something else other than effort. You know, like you look at a guy like Noah Cates, like he's got to go and bust his ass on the ice, you know, every night. But then there are guys who just have more skill, where it's like the effort is there, but it's like they can take over a game based off of their skill alone. I feel like all of those players have been in John Tortorella's doghouse, where it's like, I'm not, this isn't me going, I don't trust John Tortorella, because I do. I think he's a great coach, but I am a little bit worried that it's like, if we ever get to go and get high-end talent, that once again, we're going to run into that issue where it's like, he really just wants, or maybe it's just a natural thing. He doesn't even realize he's doing it, but it's all about just those hardworking, like blue collar players that I think are only going to get us so far.
I'm not concerned about that, honestly. I think
We
because
don't have
it comes
talent
that too, mainly because we don't have that talent, but also because
I'm talking more down the road.
I think it's him wanting more from those guys. He sees the guys with less skill that do have to work harder than the others, but then he sees some of those guys thinking that they're going to be able to coast off of just their skill alone. And I think that's fair for Tortorella to expect a little bit more and push these guys to get more out of them.
I understand that, but I'm just worried if it's like every guy like this. You know what I mean? Like you all, you know, either you were the person or you knew the person in high school who's like parents, it was never good enough. You know, like you could be an A- student and it was like, oh no. Like you don't work enough. You don't apply yourself. You got to go get like A+ and things.
You don't want to be a doctor. It's okay.
I just worry that, like, it's just based off of what I'm seeing, like that every player that seems to have any sort of like skill, you know, I don't want to say high end because we're not really, but like
in terms of the
our
Flyers,
skilled players, every single one has had an issue, I feel like, with John Tortorella. And I think a lot of it's been deserved, but I just worry about that continuing.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to change, though, because what was his name in Columbus? Line? Is that who went there?
No, Dubois.
Dubois too, yeah, but Line A to a lesser extent, I feel like.
I do think, you know, there's the, I hate to use the word, there's the standard in there, which, like, the moment you let one guy slip, it all starts slipping. And I think a lot of these guys, like, have probably gotten away with it because they are so skilled. But if you're going to buy into the team, like, but I get what you're saying. I think it's he's probably harder on those guys because he does expect more out of them is my assumption. And some guys are raising to it. Some guys are not, man. Like I look at Kevin Hayes and I'm like, there's those tree trunk, like he needs to get out of here. Like he's weighing this thing down.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think that mentality works for this group right now because we needed it. Right. I mean, we needed a complete facelift. I'm more thinking of like, we go out and get a Dylan Larkin. Right. Where it's like, I do actually think he would be a Torts guy, but it's like one of those more like higher end talent, you know, comes with kind of a little bit of a stardom where it's like, that's when I start to worry, where it's like we finally get those pieces. The standard has been set with the team, that's when I'm starting to get a little worried. Right now, it's what this team needed. No, like Kevin Hayes needs to be put in his place.
Right.
None of these guys are good enough.
I mean, maybe it's just me. Like, I don't get too concerned about that because, I'm of that mindset that I had already alluded to. If you're going to come to the team and be on the team with a good skill set that, is conducive to being a high level player, you should have the drive that matches it. And if you don't, you shouldn't be in the position you're in. Like, you need to work. You got to work.
Except I just don't want to be one of those teams where it's like we bust our ass to get into the first round of the playoffs, and then we just never have the talent to get past that. Like you look at Columbus, where it was like, wow, they're in the playoffs again. You can't believe it. And then, except for sweeping the Lightning that one year, like
which they've held on to for like 5 years now. Like, what a miraculous thing that they did.
Right. But again, it's more of just like, I think it's just an observation kind of based off of how things are going. Like, I'm happy with John Tortorella. I don't necessarily, this isn't like I'm thinking that we need a change because we don't.
You're not calling for his head just over something like this.
I just think it's something to keep an eye on.
I think I'm about to get raided by the kids. Hold on.
Oh, here we go.
I can hear them.
Their first appearance on the show. No, I think you bring up a good point, and the concerns warranted, obviously. But, when it comes to the guys that we do have right now, like, honestly, because of the lack of skill, Tortorella should be pushing all these guys. Sure. He should be on every single one of them.
I would also make the argument, you brought up Cates, which is one of the rare, silver linings in this year.
Yeah.
Do you think another coach would have put him in that situation? I mean, part of it's the environment he's in, but I would argue that he's probably going to make Cates in the long run a great player.
Yeah.
I think
he's essentially suited to take over for Lawton when the two parties part ways. Don't know when, but could just be that he's trying to prime him for that. And I think that's a great role for him.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, and I think he's great at what he does. But again, it's just like I worry about if we ever get to the point where we start to get some actual star power in here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but who knows when that's going to be?
Right.
It'll be this Friday, baby. Here we go.
Yeah. Sure. Jordan Greenway. First name Jordan. Michael Jordan Greenway.
Am I just being over dramatic, or am I the only one that's going to be actually legitimately pissed off if we get Jordan Greenway back?
No, I mean, I put it on Twitter that I want Jordan Greenway as much as I want an increase in my property taxes.
Raise my taxes. Great.
Because you're right. The whole thing is the biggest benefit of this is getting $7 million off the books by the start of next season. Like that I get it. We'll have to eat some of JVR's contract. Fine. Right to doing business.
Fine.
Yeah. It's for half a year. Oh no.
It's for 6 weeks. It's for 6 weeks.
6
whatever.
weeks. Yeah.
Right.
We don't need that money. We don't need it right now. Goes back to my original point.
But if we bring Greenway in, he's just you know what?
I'd eat the rest of his goddamn cap. I'd eat the rest of his cap if you could give us an extra pick.
We'll eat some of JVR's and then take on Jordan Greenway's full contract, and it'll be just okay, what did we even do here?
Right.
Yeah, null and void right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's counterproductive at that point. I think it's ridiculous.
I also am curious, how much John Tortorella has to say with this. You figure he's got to at this point, right?
He must have some kind of say, but I feel like we have no shortage of executives up there trying to pull strings, between
dance, puppets,
Chuck,
dance.
Grant, Danny, and then the new executives,
the Broad Street Bullies,
right? Yeah. You have Holmgren and Clarkey jumping in, being I was out there feeding pigeons, and I had a great idea.
Speaking of pigeons, what are we going to get for JVR?
Right.
And then Clark will go on a podcast. We had a chance to get McCarr straight up for JVR.
But Homer decided to chime in and say, no, I like that Greenway kid in Minnesota.
He's got heart. But then we realized he thought it was 2018. He's been senile for the last 4 years.
Oh, I mean, if and I mean, this might put you guys on the spot a little bit, but if you had the ideal trade partner in a JVR deal, I mean, who are you looking at?
I mean, I don't have a specific team, but I think anybody who's willing to cough up a second round pick.
Mhm.
I mean, I think like the reclamation project is fine. I like that idea, but I do worry about diminishing like an actual return. And I think like this is the 1 year I really would like to have a second round pick because I think that this draft is pretty deep. I mean, trade all the other picks. I don't really give a damn about 3 through 7.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could just have a first and a second, I think that would be really useful. So I don't have a team, but I think anybody willing to give us a second round pick, even if it's got some conditions to it.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have? What do we have right now in terms of pick? We have our first. I know
that's what I'm looking up right now. I'm looking up what the Flyers have in terms of draft picks this year.
I think we've got 8 picks, but it's like thirds and.
We've got a first rounder, no second. We have what's the pick was traded away. That's the third round pick. We have 2 in the third. We've got 2 in the fourth, 1 in the 5th, 6th, and 7th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So yeah, I think if you're looking at, so let me ask you this, John, would you rather get a second in this draft or if somebody offers up a first in 24?
Well, we already have 2 in 24 and it's not a deeper draft. So as deep a draft, I'm sorry. I'd rather get the second this year.
And so let me also ask this. I feel like everything in the last 2 years has been building up to this draft. Like, this is like the thing. After next year, after July or whenever the draft is, like, do things change dramatically in terms of like people wanting to get those draft picks?
Yeah,
more than roster players. I think they do.
People would want to get rid of those picks, maybe more so than you'll see Tampa Bay shell out 6 picks for Tanner Jeannot the next year.
Right.
I mean, if you got another 2024 first round pick, that's fine as long as the plan is to use it in a trade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need 3 first round draft picks. Like I just
piss them away like Boston did.
Seriously, 3 in a row.
In terms of answering your original question, I don't have another team in mind. I mean, personally, I'd like to send him to like Carolina just so we recoup some of that Tony D'Angelo, payment that we had to flip. But maybe we just flip him back for half the price. Who knows?
Is Chuck's ego going to let that happen though?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
because it wouldn't allow him to get rid of Risto. He doubled down on that.
And you know what?
But so now he's going to re-sign JVR. Is what you're saying.
Why did I even say that?
No trade, no move contract.
I'm waiting for. I'm truly every time I get a notification, I'm like JVR extension.
JVR Inc.'s new 4-year deal. Like, awesome, 4 more years of this shit.
I don't know. I'd like to see him go as far away as possible. Quite frankly, like go to LA, go do something like that.
I wonder what a return to LA would look like. I mean, a return from.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see if they'd shell out a younger guy.
But the reality is JVR is not. You're not going to get a younger guy with a crazy amount of potential.
No, like I'm thinking Gabe Velarde, but that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, they won't even get rid of their top younger guys for Jacob Chikrin.
Yeah,
who has term and is a legitimate, stud on defense.
Do you think he moves by the deadline? I haven't heard much from that front there.
Well, it's like
that for 2 years, right?
What's that?
Haven't we been hearing this for 2 years?
Yeah, and then like 2 weeks ago they pulled him out of the roster, for pending trade.
Yeah, still they pulled Kane out too, and nothing's happened there. Now I'm sure it's imminent. Patrick Kane's going somewhere. He'll end up a goddamn Ranger.
Fucking Rangers.
Sorry. I hope he goes like Buffalo. I don't care anymore. Him and Tage Thompson, let them play together.
I mean, it's bad though. You've seen Boston, New Jersey, New York, all get significantly better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say significantly. The Islanders have arguably gotten better.
Right.
Sure.
But like, I don't know. Like,
I mean, the Flyers have hit an issue where it's like the Devils are going to be good for quite some time. The Rangers are going to be good for quite some time. Carolina is going to be good for quite some time. Like,
we're seeing everything flip in the Metro right now. The teams that were consistently at the bottom have now surpassed the Flyer.
Right.
I'd even almost say teams like Pittsburgh and Washington, because Pittsburgh's starting to get the effects of the Hextall tenure there, which I love. I love it. Oh, they chanting "Fire Hextall" at the game. Like, that's amazing.
One guy I wanted to bring up, because I keep hearing it on different podcasts, and mentioning that he'll get traded to the offseason, is Travis Sanheim. I don't know about you.
I heard that this morning. Yeah.
How's he getting dealt?
I just don't understand. I don't know if maybe I'm kind of stuck in this just Flyer fandom. How does this work deal? But like, how does any team trade for Travis Sanheim, who's about to embark on an 8-year, $6+ million deal?
You want to talk about selling low? Like, we talked about that with Farabee. This would be arguably worse than the Farabee situation.
But people are saying like, oh, he'll get traded, over Provorov, and like, I don't know if Provorov will actually get traded. We'll have to see. But like, I just don't see a world where any team is taking Travis Sanheim.
No.
Not unless you package him with some assets or with something else. Like, the only way this team gets better is in the offseason. And I'm not talking like a one-player trade. Like, you need an old school, like Mark Recchi, John LeClair, or like blockbuster multiplayer trade to really shake the higher end of this talent up. And you also need clarity on what the hell Atkinson and Couturier are going to be, which, like, I don't know how we're going to get. But I just
Couturier is skating, though. Couturier is skating.
And Atkinson seems to be just chilling out in Ohio. Good job.
Right.
Well, I heard something about potentially buying him out, where like actually the recapture wouldn't be too bad.
Who,
Atkinson?
Atkinson, yeah.
Wow.
Where it would be like, I think it would only be like $75K or $750K for the first year, and then it's like $2 million and $3 million, but it never gets over like 3.5. Where like, I mean, I think you have to wait to see on his health, because I do think he is a valuable player to have when healthy. But again, I think he only gets you so far. Like, I need the needle to move somewhere where it's like, even if this offseason is just, we're getting rid of the contracts, we're trading Hayes and all this stuff, and next year is going to be brutal, but the year after that, we got a ton of cap space. We're going to finally do something with it.
And hit on some draft picks.
It would suck, but at the same time, I'd be like, okay, at least there's a direction here, because we're in cap hell with no stars in our prospect pool. Like, I don't know.
It's pretty amazing to see what we've done.
Yeah.
We painted ourselves in quite a corner here, but some of it's crappy luck. I get it, but like some of it's just like
failure to develop prospects.
And so many other teams have been able to make a difference and turn things around, or at least show like Columbus, right? Columbus sucks right now, but you can look and go, okay, they could very well end up with Connor Bedard, and they are an exciting team.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They have Johnny Hockey.
They have Johnny Hockey. They got Patrick Laine. Like, they've got some young players there where it's like, yes, they're bad right now, but you can see them eventually turning the corner and being exciting.
Yeah.
Not with this team. There's no bright spots to the point where it's like, okay, I can't wait to see this.
Yep.
It's a train wreck. You can't look away. You got to watch it till it's done. But when's it going to be done?
I'm getting ready to turn away, man.
Dude,
I feel so disconnected with the team right now. I'm just like,
there's hopelessness. It's hopelessness. Like, you don't, and the biggest glimpse into the direction of the team has been given by Tortorella when he just mentioned rebuild like one time. And he knows that this team is in a rebuild stage and will openly admit that they are nowhere close to where they need to be, which I think is the biggest thing in terms of direction, because we won't hear that from Chuck Fletcher. All we're going to hear from him is we're only 7 points out of a wild card spot. Like, yeah, okay. You know,
It'll be interesting when he talks because I mean he's got to talk after the trade deadline because he has been freaking under the bridge hiding for so long. Like where the hell has Chuck Fletcher been?
Oh, they can't put him out in front of anybody right now, or else he's going to be pigeonholed into making an even worse deal than he would if he didn't. You know,
I mean,
like, no distractions, Chuck.
He's the coach from Waterboy. He's like, does anybody have some ideas?
They just sit him in an empty room like watching film. Like, all right, Chuck, this is how you pick up the phone.
Do you think there is a world?
All right, hold on, time out. This is what this kid's doing. He's like quietly drawing out in his little workspace back there.
Shouldn't he be in bed? It's so late.
Yeah, but you know, he wants to. Thomas, you like talking Flyers? Yeah, he gave me the thumbs up. All right.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna say give me the finger.
My man.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't like
you, Dad. F you. I'm coloring.
But I just like there's no way that they can keep Chuck Fletcher after this season, right? Like,
but then why are they keeping him at the deadline? Like that's
because
the thing.
I think that at this point there's
it's too late to pull the trigger.
There's truly nothing like big going on, you know. Like I think they look at the damage he could possibly do, and maybe there is more of a talk where it's like, okay, Chuck, like we need you to do this, or like Danny has more of a say in what's going on, or Tortorella does. But you know, like I'm on a first name basis with Danny Briere.
Right.
But like there's no way they can go into another offseason with this guy making moves without a full-blown mutiny.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing too. I don't think that they fully understand the disgruntled. Yeah, they don't understand just how disgruntled this fan base is because it hasn't hit their pockets yet. Like people continue to go to games, people continue to spend money on parking, on food, on booze, on merchandise and things like that. So until they see that, which I don't think they ever will, unless this takes an absolute nosedive,
I just don't know how it gets any worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, we're a bit more educated than your typical fan.
That's just the second week in a row that we that you said that.
I would say we're more knowledgeable than there's no way we're more educated.
Yeah, more educated.
Knowledgeable. Knowledgeable is a better word. Yeah, educated. Yeah. I mean, I did go to Harvard though, so but also confirmed the highest IQ in the office that I work at.
Millersville is oftentimes known as the Harvard of
Lancaster County. Yeah. If you Franklin and Marshall,
the Harvard of Route 30 and
the Harvard of Amish land, PA. But we were a bit more, in tune with this team than your average fan. That's probably the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to these types of moves, when it comes to the background of the team and things like that, we know a little bit more, and we're going to be a bit more disgruntled than maybe not. I think your average fan's
is pretty effing disgruntled.
Yeah, and pretty effing psycho at this point.
Right.
You know, depending on
But I also think like it's so easy so let's make the assumption that a majority of fans in Philadelphia are not like me. Like I only like the Flyers. I couldn't, if you waterboarded me, I couldn't name somebody on the Sixers right now. I have no freaking idea. But like, you know, the Eagles I follow just because they were doing. But like, there are so many good teams in Philly right now. Like Philly's a hot place to be from a sports standpoint.
Even the Union, the soccer team has surpassed this Flyers team in popularity.
Right. So like, I don't know. I think that the disgruntledness is just being put into like positive land over here, but there's still like this core of psychopaths like us.
Right. Because it's like the hardcore hockey fan is, I mean, they're like freaking lifers. You know what I mean? Like they bleed the sport, where it's just like I just feel like those people, you know, that it hits hard enough. Well, no, I'm talking about like just the hockey guys, where it's you know, I don't know. I mean, I feel like.
Do we get in early on the box lacrosse podcast game? Do we just pull the ripcord here?
We're a Wings podcast now.
Pod Street Lax.
Pod Street Lax.
The Lax Street Bullies.
Lax Street. Ooh. I feel like this is a podcast about pooping now.
Plenty of matinee games for that team. No problem getting kids tickets there.
Right? Unless you're buying them up to tailgate the Eagles game.
Well, I'm never watching another Flyer game on Friday night until they've got their shit fixed, because I sat down to watch that Canadians game like, oh, tough week at work. This should be a game where we're actually going to play well because the Canadians stink. Got 10 minutes in. I'm like,
Couldn't even bring myself to watch it. I was watching Outer Banks has a new season out. Wife was watching that. Yeah, that was entertaining.
We went to our it was 1-0. I went to our neighbor's house to have some drinks, and I was just like, you know what? I can't even look at my phone.
It's not worth it.
I'm picturing you like Homer Simpson's dad, like in walking into the bar, but instead of picking up his hat, he's picking up his vest.
Core warm, arms free, man. It's a genius invention.
Oh man. So I mean, that was a good discussion. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up in terms of what you're seeing
I'm scared of Wednesday, by the way. Like I think we're gonna get just
shellacked.
Yeah.
Who do we play Wednesday?
New York.
The Rangers.
Oh, shoot me.
Yeah, it'll be Patrick Kane's first game with the Rangers. He'll have a hat trick. Tarasenko will have a hat trick. Zibanejad will have a hat trick. Panarin will have a hat trick.
Shesterkin will have a shutout.
I'll just put 5 on that game because I'm sure the odds are so bad. Just like screw it. 500.
All right, so to end the show, let's go final deadline predictions.
Okay.
Like what is like, if you can make like 1 or 2 predictions, what's gonna happen?
Braun and JVR go, and that's it.
For what kind of
altogether, I think we get 3 picks and a prospect.
I'm betting JVR goes. I think we get the second for him.
Okay.
I think we get a second for him, and maybe a prospect if we eat the salary. I mean, I assume we have to eat the salary, but I don't know. Maybe not. I think Braun goes for like a conditional 6th pick or something ridiculous. You know,
it'll be bad. Well, we can sell the other team on the versatility of him now that he's played wing.
Right. Besides that, I don't know. A bold prediction, I guess. I think we're seeing. My bold prediction is TDA goes.
Okay.
I don't know to where. I don't know to who. But like, if there's somebody who's going to go, we've heard rumors of literally Italian fire going on in the locker room between Torts and TDA. So I don't know. I think if there's a bold statement, it might be TDA somewhere.
All right.
So do you think Torts went to Chuck and was like, "Get him the hell out of here"? Without getting into the details of it, obviously, but
get that Mama Luke the fuck out of here.
I could see it. I could
Chuck
see
goes,
him.
Oh, geez. Oh, boy. Okay.
Calm down, John. Calm down. Let's talk this out.
Could I interest you in a Greenway?
Dude,
absolutely not.
Go to Minnesota.
So, he was potentially one of my bold predictions too, but I think obviously JVR. I think we're going to be really underwhelmed with the JVR return. I'd love to get a 2nd round pick. I think it's going to be a 3rd and something that you just want to go, why?
Here's your bold prediction. If you want a 1st round pick, you're dealing Scott Lawn at the deadline.
Ooh, all right. Well,
if Boston, those big teams have cap room to play with, and they want somebody that's going to anchor their bottom 6,
you just completely cut me off.
I didn't give a chance.
Anyway,
I didn't
John,
get the chance to give my bold one. Yeah, eat shit, John.
Don't you know I'm the one that cuts people off? I don't get cutted off.
How's it taste?
Oh, you're dead to me. Anyway, I also think like Braun, Brown, whatever, they get traded, and it's like you could care less. There's probably more future considerations at this point, more Garth tickets. But I think Hayes is going. I think that there are enough true contenders in need of a 2nd line center, or at least just to help with center depth, that I think we could get Kevin Hayes out of here. But I don't think the return is going to be anything we're excited about. I think we'll, have to retain like $2.5-3 million, and we'll probably get crap in return. But I just got a feeling.
That gets 4 off the books, though, if you're retaining
Yeah.
2.5, you know?
Yeah.
Not bad.
I mean,
I'd be
I
up for it.
think it's a win of a trade line, Casey, if either him or TDA gets traded.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't see either of them as part of a long-term future at all.
Right. No, absolutely not.
And if TDA doesn't go this year, he's definitely going next year or in the offseason.
Hey,
I
he'll
mean,
be a
honestly,
pending UFA next year. I
beats
believe.
up some child fan, and and we can't get rid of him.
Here's the hoping.
Fucking Reagan yelling at him.
You suck. You know what? Fuck, get out of
As
here.
long as he doesn't spit on her. What is that, man?
Yikes. He apologized. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all good. It's not like we just got out of a pandemic and people hawking on each other.
Right.
Dude, spitting on people. That's
In
like
some
the
cultures,
worst.
that's like a hello. So,
Isn't?
yeah.
In ours, it's kind of a FU, but
Wasn't that Ace Ventura? It's how we say hello.
All right. Speaking of hello, we should probably say goodbye. No.
I got another good one. Come on, guys.
all right, one.
No. Oh, come
Oh,
on.
see,
Don't give in.
Hoagie be
He just
proud.
called you Hoagie, Casey.
said
Now
Hoagie
he's
would be
trying.
proud.
No,
I said
you
Hoagie would be
called him
proud.
Hoagie, and then you're trying to save it.
You save it.
So what if I don't know what Armageddon means? It's not the end of the world. Think about it.
No, I get it, but boo.
Yeah, it's kind of lame. I'm not. These aren't premeditated. I'm literally opening up the book and reading the first one I see.
That stupid segment should have been put to bed a long time ago.
So you can find
You're
us where
getting
you find
grumpy.
all your podcast listening receptacles.
No, you can't find us where you can find your podcast listening receptacles. You can find them on your podcast listening receptacles.
On and around. Yeah.
All over them.
We're
Right.
everywhere.
We're everywhere.
Everyone wants to listen to a bottom 16 podcast. We're going nuts.
Well, we won 2 Stanley Cups some time ago. You know, something, right? Just coasting off old glory days. All right, Casey, where are they going to find you?
Hey, Pod Street Casey on Twitter.
And John.
Yeah. But Casey did it already.
That's right. Yeah. So shut up.
No.
You can find me on Twitter, Pod Street Bob.
Chin.
John's on Twitter at Pod Street Gove. God, the worst. We're on Twitter, Pod SD Bullies. Check out our affiliates, Flyers High and Wide on Twitter at Flyers HW, 5 Minute Major Podcast on Twitter at 5 Minute Major Pod, and the Hockey Focus on Twitter at the Hockey Focus. That's it. Try and enjoy some hockey, and we'll talk after the underwhelming trade deadline.
Bye now.